Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is Jonathan and welcome back to another Permaslug video. This channel is dedicated to all things WordPress website design, freelancing, and other topics like that. So hopefully this is of interest to you, but we're not going to spend much time on that today. Specifically what I wanted to talk to you about today is the Oxygen builder for WordPress. I've used Oxygen now for a number of years, probably about 2.5 or 3 years since Oxygen version 1 came out, and because of the way that you were grandfathered into Oxygen 2.0, I've been using Oxygen 2 for around about, I guess, 8 months now, 8 or 9 months, and I really love it. I have about 20 sites that I've built in the last, 8 months, like I said, that are all client sites, and quite a few of my own personal projects that would add to that tally as well. So I'm a huge advocate of Oxygen, and let me start off by saying that this review is not sponsored. I've not been paid for this. Some of you guys might have seen my other content on the Oxygen Builder channel, but this is not a sponsored video at all. I basically just wanted to touch base with you guys and show you that Oxygen is a really great piece of software, and for those of you that might have encountered other review videos, first of all, I don't really feel that many of these people have all the experience that they necessarily tout to have using Oxygen, and also because of the fact that I've spent a lot of time building client sites, I know some of the things that are really important to those of you that manage clients, that build client sites, and kind of work for yourself. So who am I? I own a website design business in Florida, and I, like I said, have built about 20 client sites in the past 8 months or so. I make a full-time living at this. This is my full-time job, and I am proud to say that Oxygen is basically my tool of choice these days. In the past, I used to use the WP Bakery Visual Composer plugin, and I would go buy premium themes and all that kind of stuff. But I've consistently found that there was things that I couldn't achieve or designs that I couldn't execute on that my clients were asking for. Just sometimes really basic stuff like, can you put the social media icons in this particular spot as opposed to where it is now? And my answer would be, yeah, let me try to figure that out. And of course I would, but the reality is that it shouldn't be that hard to do stuff like that on a pretty standard small business website. So I just consistently found myself looking for other tools, and Oxygen 2.0 as compared to Oxygen 1.0 is just a totally different piece of software. 2.0 is fantastic. It's really easy to use, and the functionality that's built in that I'll show you guys in a little bit is just fantastic. So what I've done over here is create a WordPress install that just has some photos and basically the Permaslug logo. I've gone ahead and installed a couple of plugins, and I'll show you what those are. We're going to use advanced custom fields. We're going to use custom post types UI to create a CPT, a custom post type. And then also I have installed the classic editor and Oxygen. You can use Gutenberg if you want to with Oxygen, but I just prefer the classic editor. It's just so much more simple and less flashy to me. It doesn't make any difference. So really what I've decided to do is use these 4 plugins for this particular video, because what we're going to do is go through what it's like to set up a template in Oxygen that will render your website. We're going to create a custom post type for the team members of this fantasy company, and then in that, we're going to create the team member template using a Oxygen archive template, and then we're going to set up a couple of advanced custom fields that we can render on the front end using Oxygen as well. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't worry. This is going to be something that we're going to walk through step by step. And I also want to make sure that you guys know that this is stuff that I do for real live websites. And the experience that I have is totally self-taught. Hopefully this is useful for you, and if you are interested in more in-depth videos covering any of these topics, definitely let me know as we move along. A couple of common concerns that people have about Oxygen is, first of all, the content lock-in, as people like to call it. If you were to go through and disable Oxygen, then all of your content on the front end is basically rendered useless. And my argument to that would be, yeah, but that's true with every other kind of page builder out there. If you have WP Bakery and you disable that plugin, then what's going to happen is, yeah, you may still have your header and footer, but all the inner content of that particular website is going to be just jumbled around in those shortcodes, and you could extract kind of the text and stuff, but none of that's going to be usable. And if you disable that on a website that's live and publicly accessible, there's a bigger problem. I don't think you should be worried about content lock-in in that way, because you should first of all be doing it in a staging site, but also why would you be disabling what you built the site in except maybe to move it to a different platform, but again, why is it not on a staging environment? So to me, the content login issue is not at all a problem, especially because if you set up the website properly and you're using the Oxygen templates to render your content is all going to be inside of your post content. So like, for instance, in this sample page, as long as you're putting the text and stuff in this particular content box, then if you disable Oxygen, it's still going to be there. So I really don't understand the issue, especially because we're going to set up the website to use advanced custom fields and take advantage of some of the pre-built WordPress functionality like featured image and excerpts and some of those other functions that, regardless of what theme or plugin you use to render your site's content, it's all still going to exist right there for you. So as long as you set up the website in such a way that it doesn't uniquely rely on that one particular piece of software to render it on the front end, the content lock-in issue is not at all an issue in my opinion. The other thing that people like to get hung up on is the fact that Oxygen is not client-friendly, but as I just mentioned, if you set up the site using advanced custom fields and keep people out of the actual editor functionality of whatever builder you're using, it's going to make it much more user-friendly for them. So in my opinion, the response to the not client-friendly problem is, well, you need to set up the site in such a way that it is, because if your client is going to be getting in there and making changes to, templates or something more significant than just a line of text or an image, there definitely needs to be some other expectation set with that client. There's probably two elements to it. First of all, you should have built the site on Squarespace and not WordPress. And then the second idea, from my opinion, is why are you not charging a fair price to make sure your maintenance plan is incentivizing enough so your clients have no interest in getting into the site? They just want you to take care of it. And you might think, oh, well, they're paying me to build the site and I'm just going to turn it over to them. But again, I just think that if you're in a situation where that's going to take place, I really just think the website should be built on Squarespace or something else that's totally self-service, because you can probably achieve exactly what you're after for that. So that's a different discussion, but I think that those two issues, the content lock-in and it not being client-friendly, are actually not true, and those are touted by people that don't actually know anything about Oxygen or how it functions. So moving right into the pros and cons of Oxygen, what I wanted to do is talk about kind of the steeper learning curve that you're going to experience with Oxygen, which is absolutely true. No doubt in my mind that it does take a bit of time to learn. So really what I would try to do is, if you have a project coming up, whether it be your own or for a client, for Oxygen, allow yourself some extra time, and if you feel confident enough to kind of sell your client on a higher tier of product, you can charge them for it. That's exactly what I started doing. I bumped up all of my prices because the designs and the functionality that I was able to achieve using Oxygen just warranted a higher price. So to me, I was able to kind of mitigate that steeper learning curve by charging more for my clients, which was amazing. And it's really rewarding in the end, to me at least, because I'm able to, again, just as I mentioned, achieve kind of more complex designs and functionality than I ever would have with WP Bakery, which was my main tool before this. And some other things that we'll cover more specifically that you won't find in other builders is the template functionality. We're going to cover reusable parts. We're going to cover how to apply classes and quite a few other different things. So let's go ahead and start off by creating a new template on this site. And what I'm going to do is just title this All Pages, and this will make much more sense in just a moment. If you have multiple templates, there'll be a couple options in this Inherit Design from Other template. We're not going to worry about that right now. Where does this template apply? If you expand this dropdown, you can see there's a couple of familiar options here as far as post types. You have your posts, which in my case is normally where I put my blogs. Then as far as the pages, this is where I want this template to apply, because like I said, I called this All Pages. And I actually personally designed two different templates, one for posts and one for pages, and that way I can control exactly how they look in each particular instance. We'll kind of move through this quickly, but if you're setting this up as an archive template, you can assign this to different post types, which we're going to do in a little bit. Those people that you saw uploaded in my media library, those are going to be a team custom post type, and we're going to create an archive for them a little bit later on. And then inside this other option, you can see the other choices are pretty self-explanatory. So you can create a 404-page template, which is super cool. I've never been able to do that before in any other builder. You can use a catch-all template, so if somebody goes to a URL that doesn't have a template assigned to it, like a page or post or whatever, acts as the catch-all, so at least something is rendered. And then you can also assign multiple templates to the same type of content. So you can set templates here that have a higher priority. So whichever one has the highest priority is what actually shows. Now that we've set this this template to apply to all of our pages, I'm just going to click Publish, and then let's hit the Edit with Oxygen button. So understanding the distinction between editing a template as opposed to editing a particular post or page is really important, because you're going to want to create a template that's going to apply to all those pages or all those posts. And if you actually edit just the content of one particular post or page, you're going to find that that won't apply to all the others, which is super frustrating when you have to delete it all and then come back. So make sure that you're actually editing the template, and a really easy way to see that you're editing a template is if you have this previewing drop down up here. You're not going to find that if you're editing an individual post or page, so just look for that and you can kind of see. But once you get more familiar with where you're at, it'll all make a little bit more sense. So what I'm going to do here is just make a really simple header, footer, and kind of center inner content section. So let's go ahead and just add in under the design library. I'm going to go to Atomic, and then let's go to Sections and Elements, and then let's go to Headers, and let's just choose something really simple like the header simple centered. I'm going to, of course, switch out the logo real quick. And I want to make this a reasonable width and height. That's actually pretty massive, so I'm just going to go like 75. It doesn't really make all that much of a difference in this particular case. Get it out of that link wrapper so that you can see the full color. And then I'm going to assign just a bottom border so you can see the distinction between the header content. And then from here, what I'm going to do is go back to Add. We're still in the Atomic Design library, so I'm going to go to Footers, and then let's just do a super simple footer with some social icons. Once again, just going to swap out the actual logo image here. Actually, let's just do that little guy. That looks totally fine. And I'm going to change this background color to something like a black. So from here, what you're probably thinking is, but yeah, okay, so there's my footer floating in the center of the page. How do I go about fixing that? No problem. All you got to do is basically just add in another section. Let's go all the way back here. And then what we'll find is that we can add in an inner content element. So you can do one of two things. You can either set your template to have the inner content stretched to the full width of the page, so then in every page or post you go in and actually set the padding you want for that particular page, or the other option is you drag the inner content into a section and it restricts it to page width. That's normally what I do, just because most of the time I don't need a full width layout, but every once in a while you can set it up that way if you want to. So what I'm going to do is take this section and put it between the header and footer, just like you would expect. And then a little trick that I like to do in pretty much every case in my templates is so that the footer doesn't float above the bottom of the page, I like to click the inner content, go to size and spacing, and set the minimum height to something like 75 VH to force the footer to the bottom of the page like that. So let's go ahead and click on Save, and then what you'll find is we have our basic page template set up in a matter of just a few minutes. If we go look at this page on the front end, you can see that we now have a fully functioning header and footer template, as well as our inner content set up, like I said, in just a matter of minutes. Let's go ahead and return to the WordPress admin panel, because what I want to show you is how to take advantage of reusable parts. So we just created a template, but I want to create a reusable part. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit this page with Oxygen, but before that I'm going to delete this content, click on Update, and then click on Edit with Oxygen. So what I'm going to do from here is go to Add, click on Library, let's go to Design Sets, Atomic, and then let's go to Content, and we'll just add in a couple of example pieces of content here to fill out our page a bit. So what I want to do is, let's say you have, I don't know, like your team section, and you want that to be reusable. If I click on this section right here, now we have a team set up on our site, and what I can do is open my structure panel and click on this option here that says Make Reusable. That's going to turn it into a reusable component that you can apply to any page or post. And then what you can do is actually edit one location. You basically go edit that reusable part, save it, and it applies to every place that that reusable component appears, which is super cool. So let's say this is just our team block. And now what you'll find is that on this actual page, we're not going to be able to edit the content of it directly. So what I would have to do is click on Save, return to the WordPress admin panel, and then under the Oxygen Templates button, you'll see there's our team block, which is a reusable part. Now, if I had this reusable part applied to multiple pages across my site, I edit the team block one time and it applies to every location that appears, which is kind of one of those things that's just sort of like, you didn't know you wanted it until you have it. And I find myself using the reusable parts so often, and it's such a useful tool, especially if you have the same piece of content applied to 6 or 8 different pages. Instead of you having to go change it on every single page like I would used to have to do in WP Bakery, now I don't have to do that. I can just edit it in one location, which is absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a custom post type for our team members, and what I'm going to do is just call this team, and then actually this is going to be plural labels, so instead of movies it's going to be team members, and then we'll just call this team member. Let's click on add post type. And if you don't know what I'm doing, basically I'm just creating a custom post type that's similar to like our post option or page, which is also technically considered a post. Then the team member function is something that we just actually added here. So what I can do now is I can go add a new team member, but first what I want to do is create a custom field group for these team members. So I'm going to click on add field group, and let's just title this team member data, and we don't need to worry about editing this with Oxygen. We're going to add a field that's just going to be called maybe title, like this team member's title, and that one is fine to just leave as text. And then let's just leave it at this for now. But post type is equal to team member is what we want to set that up. Position will go high after title, which I'll show you in just a second. And then let's just click on publish. So what we're going to do is actually make the post title, in this case, the person's name. So let's just put in, I don't know, Ashley Sims or something like that. And then the person's title, let's just say, is CEO. Then we can set our featured image of this particular person. Let's just choose this lady. And then what we'll do is make the inner content of this particular post. Ashley has owned XYZ Corp for over 100 years. And then let's click on publish. Now we've created our custom post type that includes our team members. So let's go ahead and add in one more team member, and we'll just call this guy John Smith. His title is going to be CFO. And let's say John has 100 years of bookkeeping experience. Butchered that word. So now what we can do is set the featured image to this guy's picture. We'll say this is John, and then let's go ahead and just click on publish again. So now that we have 2 team members added, you're probably excited and you think, okay, I want to go look at these team members, and you're going to be disappointed to find only a little bit of the content that you just made is actually being rendered by Oxygen. So we can fix that super easily. Let's go to Oxygen and we'll click on templates. We're going to create a new template, and let's call this team members. And then what you can do is click on where does this template apply, go singular, and that new custom post type we just created is called team members. We're going to apply that there. And then inherit design from other template, let's go all pages. What this is going to do is set it up to where instead of having 2 separate templates that require you to change, let's say, your logo or your menu options 2 times, this is actually going to inherit the header and footer and only allow us to modify the inner content for these team members. So if we click on publish, then what you'll find is if we go back to a team member, you're going to see that the team member is basically, it looks much closer to what we set up before. Obviously only the text copy in the inner content element is there, which is not quite what we want. So what we're going to do is go ahead and go back to our template here for our team members, and let's click Edit with Oxygen. So you can see that we're editing a template because the previewing dropdown up here has the 2 people we just created in our custom post type. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and click on Add. Let's click Heading. And then this option here, if you double click and select all this text, there's a new button up here. You'll notice it says Insert Data. We're going to go Insert Post Title. And because the title of this post is that person's name, you can see John Smith automatically fills in. The next thing you're probably going to want is the person's title that we created. So let's just use a text element, and once again, double click Insert Data and go Advanced Custom Field and then Title. And there you go. Now his title appears right by his name. Isn't that cool? It's really, really amazing to me. Then from here, of course, the next thing you're probably going to want is this person's image. Let's go Image. We're going to set the width to 250 pixels. And then because we set that person's image using the featured image of the post, click on the Insert Data button, choose Featured Image, and click Insert. And sure enough, that person's image is right there for you. So now if we switch over to Ashley Sims, all that data is going to fill in there automatically for you, just like that. Isn't that super cool? So obviously this doesn't look great. You would want to style this much nicer, but the benefit is that it's one location for you to set up all of these individual posts, and you go edit it in one spot and it applies to all the others. Really, really revolutionary for me, and hopefully it will be for you too. Watching these kind of videos gets me so excited, so hopefully you guys are as well. Now from here, what I want to do is actually add in the text copy, of course. So what I'm going to do is add in the inner content element. And then as you can see, John has 100 years of bookkeeping experience. So instead of you having to come in and actually put in, let's say, their biography, you can just put it in the inner content of that particular post. Click on Save, and now when we go view this particular team member on the front end, everything that we just created is there. As you can see, there's that little white gap down there between our footer and the bottom of the screen, so we might want to take our inner content element and just put the minimum height to something like 50 VH. So once again, it expands down to the bottom of the page. Click on Save, and then let's return to the admin panel. Okay, so I am editing the sample page that we were working with earlier, and one other function that I wanted to show you that's inside of Oxygen that is super fantastic is the ability to set classes for elements. If you don't know what a class is, don't worry, because we're going to work on that right now. So if you click on these elements, many of the Atomic design sets already have the classes applied. If you click on this little ID function, you can see there's this green button that says Class, and it says Atomic Icon Block 13, and then all of these icons are probably going to have that same class applied, which they sure do. The classes allow you to make a change in one spot, and it applies to every other element with that class. So let's say you have a bunch of icons with that same class name applied, and you want the color to change to something like purple. As you can see, now all of those icons changed without us having to go edit each individual one, which is super amazing. It saves so much time when you do that ahead of time. If you can set classes to anything. It can be divs, it can be columns, it can be headings, images, whatever you want. So let's make another example here. This title of these particular icon blocks, let's do something like set the typography to 25 pixels. You can see that growth, that size increase there. Let's set the line height to something ridiculous like 25, and then you can see all three of them are changing as soon as we make the change in one spot. I really love the class functionality. It saves so much time, and if you have a page with a lot of content and a lot of similar content, then this is going to help you tremendously. If you're not familiar with classes, just make sure it's a part of your workflow to be actually setting the classes ahead of time. One little cheat that I use is if I'm going to be creating like an icon block like this, I'll create all the items in the div with the class applied, and then just clone the div, and then everything kind of maintains those classes, which is really easy. Now again, if I just change the color of this element, it will change on all those locations. So I really think that the main things about Oxygen that I love the most are the fact that you can create those custom templates for all of your post types super easily and quickly. You can use the class functionality, you can use reusable parts. There's so many other things inside of Oxygen that we could spend days covering, but I really just love Oxygen, and there's nothing else that I would ever consider building a WordPress website in for the foreseeable future. A couple other quick things that I wanted to touch on before we close out is the lightweight code output. So Oxygen, just by its very nature, outputs some of the cleanest code of any builder. I'm not going to spend any time on that because there's quite a few other comprehensive guides and videos out there detailing that. And then, of course, you can update WordPress core for the first time without having to worry about whether or not it will break your site. And you can also stop buying premium themes. I think I mentioned that earlier. Again, Oxygen definitely does have a learning curve, but it does allow beginning or advanced users to kind of take advantage of the software, which I love. You can use Oxygen on an unlimited number of sites, even for clients. Their pricing is changing at some point in the future, so don't take me on my word for that with absolute fact. But for now, if you buy Oxygen, it's one price, and then you get it for unlimited number of sites with lifetime updates. So that's really incredible. Again, my name is Jonathan with Permaslug. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll do my very best to answer it in depth, possibly even with another video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.